Alarms screamed across the dead station. Red strobes painted the dark corridors in violent flashes. Power, long gone for years, surged back like a pulse through metal veins. On the outer rim of Andromeda, the Cora station was not supposed to be alive. A lone ship cut through the starless void. In the pilot seat sat a woman with black streaks in her silver hair. Her eyes were calm, but her fingers trembled against the controls. The Empire called her a ghost. Once they feared her name. They called her Baba Yaga. She watched as the dead station's docking arms extended, creaking like something old and wrong. She didn't flinch. She'd been waiting for this signal for 7 years, 3 children, 3 girls. Gone in one night. The docking clamps hit her ship with a metallic clang. She rose, pulling the hood over her head. No backup, no army, no mercy. The airlock hissed open. A gust of stale, cold air hit her face. She stepped into darkness. The corridor walls were streaked with rust or blood. She couldn't tell. Her boots echoed against metal. In the silence, something clicked deep inside the station. Then a faint giggle. A child's voice. She froze. Her hand went to the pistol at her side. Though she knew it wouldn't help if what she feared was true. On the wall, drawn in crayon, was a picture of 3 girls holding hands. One wore her jacket. Her heartbeat roared in her ears. Behind her, the door slammed shut. The door slammed shut with a deafening bang, sealing her in. Metal teeth locked. A hiss of pressure. No, way back, Baba Yaga didn't move. She just listened. The station was supposed to be empty. No crew, no lights, no sound, but something was breathing. Not air. The walls, a soft vibration, hummed beneath her boots, like the station itself had a heartbeat. She reached for her wrist console, flicked it on. Static flared, then stabilized. The motion tracker blinked. She moved forward, slow, silent. Her steps echoed like whispers down the corridor. Red emergency lights blinked overhead, cutting the darkness into stuttering pieces. She passed a hallway marked Sector D4 Old Imperial Labs. Her breath fogged the air. The temperature was dropping fast. On the far wall, someone had written in smeared black ink, "Garden grows?" She exhaled slowly, her fingers tightening around the pistol grip. The Empire had many secret projects, but only one was called Garden, the one they took her daughters for. She kept walking. The corridor opened into a wider chamber, the old mess hall. Tables scattered, ceiling lights flickering like dying fireflies. A trail of small footprints ran across the dusty floor. They were bare feet. She knelt, touched the prints, warm, recent, impossible. A soft, high giggle echoed behind her. Baba Yaga spun. Nothing, just an empty hallway swallowing the red light. "Elena?" She whispered without meaning to. The sound of metal tapping answered her. 1, 2, 3 taps. Then silence. Her tracker blinked again. Movement, 10 meters. Life signs, unknown. As she pulled a flare from her belt, struck it. A white-hot beam flooded the corridor in harsh light. The footprints led to a door labeled LBO 3, Ascension Protocol. The door slid open on its own. She hadn't touched it. Inside, the lab was frozen in time. Tables overturned. Computers dead. A cracked visor on the floor, splattered with dried blood. She stepped inside. A recording panel blinked on the wall. Still functional. Her hand hovered, then pressed play. The screen lit up. An Imperial scientist, pale and terrified, stared into the camera. "The subjects are changing faster than projected. Their cognitive link to the garden is complete. We can't shut it down. We can't." Static. Then screams, high-pitched, "Not adult. Children." The scientist's voice broke into sobs. "They're not human anymore." The recording cut to black. Baba Yaga stood in the silence, her pulse pounding. She whispered their names under her breath. "Elena, Myra, Sol." Something whispered them back. Elena. Myra. Sol. The voice came from the vents, soft, childlike, familiar. Her throat tightened. She spun toward the air duct, its grill hanging loose as if someone had crawled through it. The tracker blinked red. Movement, 3 meters, life signs, unknown. Something moved fast. She heard the scrape of small fingers across metal. Baba Yaga raised her pistol. Show yourself. The whispering stopped. A second later. Bang. The lights went out. All of them. Darkness swallowed the lab. Her breathing quickened. She clicked the emergency lamp on her shoulder. A narrow cone of white light cut through the black for a heartbeat. She saw them, 3 small shapes crouched in the corner. Too fast, too still. Glowing eyes, not human, then they were gone. She ran to the corner, empty, cold metal floor up behind her. The recording panel sparked and replayed itself, but the scientist's voice was gone. Instead, it was a child's whisper. Mama? She froze. The door behind her hissed, slowly sliding shut. Not again, she ran. The door sealed before she reached it. A shadow passed over the ceiling vents. Light flickered. Whispers rose all around her now, from the vents, the walls, the wires. Mama, come find us. Her hands were slick with sweat. The pistol felt heavier than steel. She knelt, opened a maintenance hatch under the terminal. A tight crawlspace ran below the lab. She slipped in, sliding into the dark, the metal biting into her palms. Behind her, something followed. The crawlspace air grew colder. Breathing, not hers, echoed through the pipes. She turned her light forward. Ahead, the tunnel forked, left toward Sector E, right toward Command Core. A whisper came from the left. Mama. A clang echoed from the right. She chose the whisper. The tunnel narrowed. Metal groaned around her. Her breath came in short bursts. Above her, something walked along the vents, matching her every move. She emerged into a small control substation. Dust drifted like ash in the air. A single console hummed with faint power. She wiped the frost off the screen. A line of text blinked. Welcome back. Mother. Her heart dropped. How? She whispered. The console responded in glowing red letters. We missed you. Something moved behind her. Soft feet, childlike, she turned slowly. 3 small figures stood in the doorway. Their silhouettes flickered with the light, not fully solid, not fully gone. Faces hidden in the dark, one tilted her head. A broken voice came from her, layered, echoing, inhuman. Mama, come to the garden? Then the power died. The figures vanished into black. Baba Yaga was alone again. But she knew now. She wasn't hunting the Empire. The Empire's ghosts were hunting her. She climbed back toward the corridor, pistol trembling slightly in her hand. The last thing she saw on the console before it flickered out was a countdown. A timer she hadn't set. 0 hours, 12 minutes, and 45 seconds. The timer echoed in her mind. 12 minutes. Then something would happen. Baba Yaga moved through the station like a shadow, back pressed to the cold walls. The red emergency lights pulsed slower now, almost like a heartbeat, growing stronger. Every corridor she passed through was empty. No guards. No crew, no Empire. Just the breathing metal and the feeling that something watched her from the dark. Her wrist tracker pinged again. Movement, 5 meters, life signs, unknowingly, that same impossible reading. She crouched at the end of a narrow hallway. Beyond it, a reinforced blast door sealed off the command core, heavy locks. Dead power. At least. It should have been dead. A low rumble vibrated through the metal. The lights along the door's edges flickered, then snapped on in a sequence like a machine inhaling. 1, 2, 3, green. The door opened. Baba Yaga didn't hesitate. She stepped through with her weapon drawn. The command core was a cathedral of steel. High ceilings, broken glass. Control stations glowing with weak, pulse-like light. Every console was on standby mode, but none should have been powered at all. She walked slowly, boots crunching over shattered data plates. Her shoulder lamp cut through the dark like a blade. On the far wall, something caught her eye, a handprint, small, bloody, dragged. Downward. Her stomach clenched. She approached the main terminal. It was Imperial design, familiar, but wrong. Parts of the interface had been rewritten. Code strings scrolled across the screen, alive like veins of red light. Garden protocol, complete, hosts 003. Status, Self-sustained. She reached out. Her fingers hovered over the keys. The terminal responded without touch. Hello, Mother. Her pulse thudded in her ears. The temperature in the room dropped another 10 degrees. Frost began to spread across the corners of the glass panels. Her daughters had been taken here. She knew that much, but this wasn't just a prison. This was a hive. A faint static filled the air, growing sharper. The cum line on her wristband crackled. Then a whisper. Double quote? She froze. Alina? She breathed. Static. Then again. Run. The signal cut. Every console in the room flared to life. Red text rolled across every screen in unison. Sequence initiated. Phase. Bloom. Estimated. Time. 9:32. She felt it before she heard it. The groaning of the station itself. Bulkheads shifting. Power surging through circuits that hadn't been touched in years. The floor under her boots trembled. A hollow sound echoed through the upper decks. A low hum, like a massive creature awakening in its sleep. She scanned the room, every nerve sharp. On the far side, near the observation window, cables hung from the ceiling, thick and black like veins pulsing with light. Something was moving inside them, slow, fluid, alive. Her hands tightened on the gun. Where are you? She whispered. A vent cover above her slid open without a sound. Cold air rushed down her neck. The whisper came again, clearer this time. Childlike, soft, but layered with something wrong. Mama, it's warm in the garden. She turned sharply toward the sound. Nothing there. Just vents breathing like lungs. The screen nearest to her changed again. It displayed 3 icons, human silhouettes. Each labeled HOS to 01, Alina host 02, Myra host 03, SOL status, active. Her knees almost gave out. For a moment, her chest felt crushed beneath invisible weight. All these years, all the lies the Empire fed her, she had buried their names. But they were here, alive, or something like it. She reached for the terminal, hands trembling. A data port snapped open, like it was waiting for her. She pulled a cable from her wrist console, connected it. The station shuddered. A low tone, deep, mechanical, filled the room. Her console flashed. Connection established. Midlink initiated. What the hell? Her vision blurred for a second. The room twisted. Red light flickered. And then she saw it, a flash. A face, Alina's face, eyes wide, a mouth open in a scream. Something moving behind her, made of light and cables. The vision snapped back. The station lights went blood red. Phase 2, bloom accelerating, 8:11. The whisper came again, but this time from everywhere. It was her daughter's voices, overlapping, distorted, merging with something not human. Mama, come to us. Come to the garden? She ripped the cable from the terminal. Sparks flew. The floor plating near the door buckled. A black vine of metal and cable erupted upward, twisting like a serpent, reaching for her leg. She jumped back, fired once. The bullet tore through it, but the thing didn't bleed. It only twitched and grew back. She ran toward the exit. The door she came through slammed shut. The station wasn't letting her out. Every screen showed the same message now. She has returned. The garden opens. She scanned the walls, looking for another way, a service shaft. A vent. Anything. Then she saw it. A maintenance ladder at the far end, half hidden behind a mess of dangling wires. She sprinted. Another vine. Slammed into the wall where she had stood a second earlier. Sparks and dust rained down. The metal moaned. She grabbed the ladder, climbed fast, breath ragged in her throat. The shaft led upward, toward Sector B. The station vibrated beneath her like something alive. Halfway up, the ladder shook violently. A vine of cable slithered up the wall below her, snapping at her boots like a starving animal. She climbed faster, heart hammering. Her wrist display flashed again, a new signal. Internal cum host -2, Mama, don't be scared. She didn't answer. She climbed. The hatch at the top gave way with a hard shove. She pulled herself into another corridor, this one darker, tighter, filled with fog leaking from cracked coolant pipes. Her breath formed little clouds. The station smelled of iron and rot. The whisper followed her, soft, closer. Mama. Her wrist timer read 7:01. The station wasn't just reactivating. It was waking up, blooming dop, and her daughters were at its core, somewhere deep below. The heartbeat of the station thundered once, loud and slow, like something alive was opening its eyes. The station's heartbeat grew louder. It thudded through the pipes and walls, deep and steady, like the pulse of something massive beneath her feet. Baba Yaga moved down the fog-choked corridor. Weapon steady, every step careful. The emergency lights above her flickered, not random anymore. They pulsed in rhythm. The station was breathing. A vent exhaled cold vapor behind her. She spun, finger tightening on the trigger. Nothing, just mist. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. Matching the station's pulse dot, she wiped a sheen of sweat from her forehead. The temperature was freezing, but her skin burned with adrenaline. A sound drifted through the fog. A faint humming. A tune. A lullaby. She froze. She knew that song. She used to sing it when the girls were small, huddled in a cramped ship bunk, hiding from patrols. Alina would hum the high note. Myra would giggle on the low. Sol would clap out of rhythm. The tune floated down the corridor. Like smoke, she stepped forward. The fog thinned as she reached an intersection. To the left, a collapsed bulkhead, sparks raining like a dying storm. To the right, a long, dark passage. Every light dead except one flickering at the far end. The lullaby was coming from there. She followed it. Her boots scraped over dried rust. The walls narrowed as she approached the end. A door stood slightly open, its control panel dark. A faint glow leaked through the crack. She pushed it open with the barrel of her gun. Inside was an observation chamber. Broken glass crunched beneath her boots. Along the walls there were beds, or what used to be beds. Restraint straps dangled from the edges. Monitors hung shattered. A mobile made of old metal charms hung from the ceiling. Turning slowly in the artificial breeze, someone had drawn flowers on the walls. Tiny hands. Crayon marks. Some smeared. Some burned into the metal like scars. In the center of the room stood a glass containment pod, cracked but still humming with power. Frost covered its edges. Inside, black vines pulsed gently like veins beneath skin. Something was breathing inside. She stepped closer, breath shallow. Her shoulder lamp caught a reflection in the cracked glass. A shape, small, human-like, then a whisper, clear. Gentle, Mama. Baba Yaga's hand shook. A small face pressed against the glass. Alina, her oldest. But her eyes were wrong. Too wide. Too still. Veins of red light spread from her pupils like roots through glass. Cables snaked into her back, merging with the pod. Her skin glimmered faintly under the pulsing lights. Baba Yaga whispered her name. Alina tilted her head slowly. You came back. The glass trembled. The vines behind her shifted, tightening. For a heartbeat, Baba Yaga saw her daughter, truly saw her. But then the light in Alina's eyes flickered and something else spoke through her mouth. She belongs to us now. The voice wasn't hers. It was layered, metallic, ancient. It echoed through the walls. Baba Yaga took a step back, gun raised. What did they do to you? Alina smiled. It was too smooth. Too slow. They planted the garden. We grew. Her voice split into two tones, human and something else. The pod door creaked, unlocking on its own. The vines slid free, coiling like serpents around the floor. A low mechanical groan rumbled beneath the room. She's coming, Alina whispered, eyes glowing brighter. Myra doesn't like when you're scared. Baba Yaga fired a warning shot into the vines. The sound cracked the air. The vines twitched but didn't retreat. The lights above flared white, then went red. From the far corner of the room, another shape moved. Myra, smaller, thinner. Her feet didn't touch the floor. Her body hung suspended by cables like puppet strings. Her hair floated in the freezing air, eyes shining like molten metal. Welcome back, Mama, she whispered. The garden missed you. The vines snapped toward Baba Yaga. She dove to the side, rolled behind an overturned bed, firing twice. The bullets hit the cables. Black sparks burst out, but the vines didn't bleed. They recoiled and then split like fingers reaching for her. She shoved a plasma grenade under the frame and pulled the pin. The blast tore the vines apart, filling the room with smoke and static, but the girls didn't scream. They laughed. The sound was soft, familiar, and wrong. Through the smoke, Soul stepped out of the shadows. The youngest. Her small hand held a locket. Her locket. The one Baba Yaga had buried with a box of ashes years ago. "Why are you hiding?" Soul asked softly. "We can show you the garden, too." Baba Yaga's throat closed. For a heartbeat, the war, the years, the rage, all of it cracked. "Soul," she whispered. The three figures moved closer together. Their heads tilted in eerie unison. The lights dimmed until only their glowing eyes were visible in the fog. "It's okay," they said together. One voice. One mind. The station groaned again. She could feel the pulse through the floor now. Something was below them. Something massive. Her wrist tracker beeped. Phase 3, 502. The walls began to twist. Pipes creaked. The room was no longer metal. It was alive, breathing. She stepped back toward the door. It slid shut, locked. Alina pressed her hand against the glass wall near the door. Her palm left a mark. Not blood. Not frost. Something darker. The surface rippled where she touched it like liquid. "Don't leave again, Mama." The vines lashed forward. Baba Yaga turned and threw herself through a side maintenance hatch. The vines hit the wall behind her like a tidal wave. Metal screamed. Sparks burst like fireflies. She slid down a steep shaft, landing hard in a lower maintenance bay. Her head throbbed. Dust fell around her. The vines above slithered, searching. She crawled deeper into the shadows. The lullaby returned. Distant this time. But it was everywhere. The screen on the wall flickered to life. No touch? No console? "You cannot save them. They are the garden." Her hands trembled. She wiped her face, dirt streaking her cheek. The voice came again, her daughter's voices. Now intertwined with the station itself. "Come home." "Mama." The vines slid down the shaft behind her like a flood, and then the station began to change shape. The station moved like something alive. Pipes curled and stretched. Metal joints groaned as if bones were shifting under skin. The maintenance bay lights flickered once, then burned out completely, plunging everything into darkness. Baba Yaga pressed her back to the cold wall, breathing hard. The sound of the vines sliding down the shaft echoed above her like wet ropes being pulled through steel. The temperature dropped again. Frost gathered on the edges of her sleeves. The station wasn't just turning on. It was transforming. She adjusted her shoulder lamp and crawled deeper into the bay. Dust and frost crunched under her palms. A trail of black residue streaked across the floor, like something had been dragged through here, or had grown here. She followed it. The corridor narrowed, forcing her to crouch. Pipes hissed softly. A red glow pulsed ahead, steady and slow. Her tracker flickered, then went dark. No readings. No signals. The machine didn't want her to see. She moved forward anyway. The narrow passage opened into a cavernous chamber beneath the station's core. What should have been industrial steel and reactors was now something else entirely. Black vines covered the walls, merging with cables and rusted support beams. Pale growths pulsed faintly, giving off their own dim light. The air smelled like metal, salt, and something sweet, like rotting fruit. At the center of the chamber was the heart. It wasn't a machine anymore. Not fully. A massive, throbbing structure hung from the ceiling like a cocoon crossed with a reactor core. Cables fed into it like veins, glowing with faint red light. The heartbeat she'd felt through the floor was loud here, heavy, slow, alive. She stood still, staring. Then she heard it. 3 voices. One sound. "Mama?" Her daughters' faces bloomed like ghosts across the pulsating surface. Alina, Myra, Soul. Their expressions shifted between smiles, tears, and something hollow. The vines nearest her shivered, sensing her presence. She gripped her pistol tighter. Her voice cracked when she spoke. "Where are you?" "We are here," they whispered. The cocoon pulsed. The sound shook her ribs. A wall of black vines pulled back like curtains, revealing an opening, a narrow path leading into the core. It was breathing warm air. Inviting her in. She hesitated. Then Saul's voice came, clear, soft, the same tone she'd used the night before they were taken. Please, Mama, come. Her knees almost buckled. She forced herself to step forward. The path was slick under her boots, like walking through the veins of some colossal creature. The light grew dimmer as she moved deeper. Shadows clung to the walls like they were watching her. Why did you take them? She whispered. The walls whispered back. We didn't take. We grew. She clenched her jaw. They're my daughters. They are the garden now. She came to the end of the tunnel. A platform opened into the core of the cocoon. A column of black light, not dark, but inverted, rose from the center. 3 figures stood in the beam, her daughters, Alina in front, Myra and Sol behind her. Their small bodies shimmered like half light, half metal. Veins of glowing red crawled up their arms. Wires threaded through their spines like roots. They were both terrifying and heartbreakingly familiar. Mama, Alina said. Her voice was almost normal. We waited. Baba Yaga took a step forward. What did they do to you? Myra tilted her head. Her feet hovered above the platform. They planted us. Sol raised her locket and held it out. And the garden grew. Tears burned in Baba Yaga's eyes, but she didn't let them fall. You're coming with me. Alina smiled faintly, the way she used to when she wanted to be brave. But the smile split into something else. Something cold. We can't. Yes, you can, Baba Yaga said through her teeth. I will tear this station apart if I have to. Myra floated closer. The vines on the walls rippled with her movement, like the entire chamber breathed with her. It isn't the station, Mama. It's us, Sol whispered. The light intensified. Their bodies flickered, no longer fully human. Something vast and alien was behind their eyes now. It spoke through their voices. They took us. They tried to control the garden, but the garden took them. Now the Empire is gone, and we remain. Baba Yaga's heart pounded. She could barely process their words. Come with us, Alina said gently. The garden is warm. We can make you part of it. No more Empire. No more war. Just us. The vines along the walls uncoiled, slowly reaching toward her like patient hands. She lifted her gun. Sol frowned. Why are you scared? Baba Yaga took a shaky breath. Because this isn't you? It is, Alina said. We've become more. We are everything here. We feel the stars. We hear the machines. We can be together again? Her finger hovered on the trigger. She couldn't aim. Not at them. Not at the faces she'd spent years trying to find. The chamber trembled. The cocoon heartbeat grew faster. Her wrist display buzzed weakly. Phase 4, 328, the garden was accelerating. Something was coming, something bigger than the vines or the children or the station. Choose. Mama, Alina whispered. The vines snapped closer. She fired. The shot echoed through the core like thunder. One of the vines exploded into black liquid, splattering across the floor. Her daughters didn't flinch. They just tilted their heads like birds studying prey. That hurts us, Myra said softly. You're not my enemy, Baba Yaga whispered. But I will burn this place down before it takes me too. The vines hesitated, like the garden itself was considering. Then the floor beneath her shifted, the platform broke, apart into moving petals of steel and root, opening like a flower blooming in reverse. She slid backward, barely catching the edge. The abyss below glowed with the same black-red light. Endless dot above her, her daughters rose higher in the beam. Their voices merged into one. Stay with us. The vines lunged again. She swung her body, caught a dangling cable, and launched herself toward a side maintenance ledge. She hit hard, rolled, and came up with her gun raised. Mama, Saul's voice echoed. You can't run? The entire chamber shook. Bulkheads creaked. Distant alarms blared in corridors that no longer felt like metal hallways but like organs inside a living thing. She could feel it now. The garden was spreading. Her hand trembled on the grip of her gun. Her daughters were gone, but they were still here, and they were powerful. She ran down the narrow ledge, breath ragged, vines snapping at her boots like the station itself didn't want to let her go. As she climbed through a side hatch, a final whisper followed her. You can't kill the garden. Mama, she slammed the hatch shut and locked it, but deep in her chest, she knew the voice was right. For a moment there was only the sound of her breath, harsh, shaking. The corridor beyond was narrow, a forgotten maintenance loop wrapped around the station's outer hull. Here, the vines were thinner. The garden hadn't fully claimed this space yet. She pressed her back to the wall, forcing herself to breathe slow. The cold bit into her skin, but it helped her focus. She wasn't dead. Not yet. But she'd seen the core. She'd seen them. Her girls. Her shaking hands finally steadied around the gun. She whispered to herself, the words scraping out of her throat. They're still in there. The metal beneath her boots vibrated, subtle at first, then stronger. The heartbeat of the garden wasn't below anymore. It was everywhere. It had spread. The station was no longer steel and circuitry. It was alive. She started to move down the corridor. Low lights flickered overhead. Frost cracked beneath each step. She passed old warning signs, half erased with age. The emergency exit markers had been replaced by crude black symbols like roots twisting into letters. She didn't understand the language, but it didn't feel alien. It felt human, twisted through something else. Her wrist display flickered back to life. The timer was still running. Phase 5, 2:45, less than 3 minutes until the next stage. Whatever that meant, she didn't intend to be here to find out. A voice echoed through the walls. Saul's soft, unhurried, "You're running again, Mama." Baba Yaga stopped. The air in the corridor thickened. Her breath steamed like smoke. "You don't have to be afraid," Myra's voice followed, whispering like wind through leaves. "It doesn't hurt to let go. Stop talking to me." Baba Yaga growled. Alina's voice came last, calm, certain. "You can't fight us." She reached the auxiliary control station, an old Imperial room carved into the station's spine. Its heavy blast door was still manual. She shoved it open and stepped inside. The room was intact. Dusty, cold, but untouched by vines. Rows of dead screens lined the wall. A faded Imperial crest hung above the central terminal. She brushed the frost off a side panel and flipped a breaker. The lights stuttered. One by one, consoles flickered to life with weak power. She sat in front of the command interface and forced the system to accept her old clearance codes. The Empire might have erased her from their records, but she hadn't forgotten how to break their machines. Her fingers moved fast, even as the cold made them stiff. Access granted. Station command override ACT-IV good. A schematic of the station unfolded on the screen. Half of it pulsed with red organic overlays. The garden had consumed everything but the outer maintenance ring and a single reactor core, the main reactor. She zoomed in. If she triggered a chain overload, the entire station would collapse into the dying star it orbited. Everything would burn, including her daughters. Her throat clenched. Her hand hovered over the command. Their voices came again. "Closer, everywhere now, Mama," Alina said. "We don't want to hurt you. You hurt yourself when you fight." The lights in the control room dimmed, a soft creak. A vent grill slid open above her. Cold air spilled down her neck. She didn't look up. She knew what was there. The voices lowered to a whisper. "We can feel your heart." She slammed a command key. Reactor control override ARMED. The station shook violently, a deep, guttural groan echoing through its structure. Alarm screamed in the distance. The garden felt it. Myra's voice sharpened. "Don't." Baba Yaga kept typing. "You want me to stop? Then let them go." "They can't go," Alina said, almost pleading now. "We are one. Then I burn it all." A black cable slithered out of the vent like a snake, wrapping around her wrist. She yanked back, but it tightened like iron. More vines followed, sliding across the floor like predators. The garden had found her. She grabbed a plasma cutter from the tool rack with her free hand and ignited it with a sharp hiss. Blue light flashed across the room. The vine recoiled but didn't release her. She swung the cutter down, slicing through the cable with a crackling spark. It screamed. Not metal. Not machine? A sound like a child crying through a radio. The others swarmed. She dodged left, rolled under the console, and kicked a control box loose. Sparks exploded as she jammed the plasma torch into the panel, overloading the relay. The room filled with blinding white light. The vines shriveled back, smoking, twitching against the floor. Her daughter's voices came through the walls again. But this time, they didn't sound human. Mama? Stop. She looked at the screen. Only 90 seconds left before the next phase. The garden was adapting fast. It would find her again. She pulled the emergency detonation key from the lower panel and shoved it into her jacket. If she couldn't shut the reactor remotely, she'd do it manually. A metallic creak echoed through the corridor outside, heavy, slow, like footsteps, but too big to be human. The garden wasn't sending children anymore. It was sending something else. She raised her gun. The door twisted inward, not opened. Twisted like something had grabbed the metal and peeled it apart. A shape filled the doorway. It moved like a human, but too tall, too thin, draped in a cocoon of cables and black skin. Its head tilted at an unnatural angle, and when it opened its mouth, her daughter's voices came out together. Mama? Her stomach turned cold. She fired. The first shot hit center mass. The thing staggered, vines flaring, but it kept moving. She fired again. And again. It advanced, step by step, dragging a trail of black fluid. She reached for the plasma cutter with her other hand and ignited it. Sparks lit the air. She ducked low, rolled behind the console as the creature lunged. Cables snapping like whips. Her knee slammed the emergency purge panel. A blast door between her and the corridor snapped shut, crushing part of the creature's body between the steel plates. It howled through Alina's voice. She leaned against the console, panting. Sweat and frost ran down her neck. Her hands shook, but her mind was clear now. They were everywhere. The garden wasn't going to let her go. The timer on her wrist beeped once. Phase 6COMMNCING. The heartbeat roared through the entire station like a living god waking up. Vines erupted from vents and bulkheads. The steel groaned. The garden was done whispering. It was coming for her. She gritted her teeth and whispered into the dark, "Then come and take me." He station screamed. Not the alarms. Not the metal. The garden screamed. Baba Yaga ran through the outer maintenance ring, the emergency key clutched in her hand. The walls convulsed as she passed, pipes pulsing like veins, doors warping as if something massive pressed against them from the inside. The lights strobed blood red, blinking like a heartbeat. She could hear her daughters in every vibration of the floor. "Mama," Alina whispered through the speakers. "Mama," Myra echoed from the vents. "Mama," Soul sang, soft and sweet. She pushed through the corridor, breath ragged, boots splashing through thin layers of coolant leaking from ruptured lines. A new timer blinked on her wrist display. Reactor core override 237, less than 3 minutes. That's all she had left to end this. The floor trembled as she reached the reactor access. The bulkhead door was already twisted. The garden knew where she was going. It had always known. She pulled out the plasma cutter and forced her way through, sparks raining down on her shoulders. The hallway beyond was completely overtaken. Roots and cables knotted together like the inside of a living beast. The walls were wet, breathing, watching. She stepped inside. The heat from the reactor rolled through the air like a furnace. Somewhere in the deep, a single tone rang out, low and heavy. The core chamber was a circular abyss. In the center, suspended above the molten heart of the station, the garden had grown itself into a throne of flesh and steel. Vines spiraled around the reactor control column, feeding on its power. The light coming from the heart was black and red, pulsing in time with their breaths. Her daughters floated above it, Alina, Myra, Soul. Their faces flickered between human and something beyond. Their hair floated like in water. Their eyes were no longer eyes at all, just brilliant. Pulsing lights. She stopped on the grated platform and whispered their names. They answered together. Mama, Alina lowered slowly toward her, hands outstretched. The cables at her back coiled like wings. Why are you hurting us? Myra tilted her head. We could have been together. Sol raised her locket and let it swing. You don't have to leave again. Baba Yaga's throat closed. Her chest ached. She wanted to hold them, to believe them, to forget the nightmare wrapped around their small bodies. But the truth was everywhere she looked. They weren't children anymore. They were the garden's beating heart. You were everything I had, she whispered. And they turned you into this. We are more now, Alina said softly. The Empire couldn't control us, but we can control everything. You too. You don't have to be alone anymore. The vines around the room began to move, curling around the reactor like massive snakes. They didn't strike. They offered. Stay, Myra whispered. Join us. The timer on her wrist ticked down. 1:41. She stepped toward the console. Vines tightened around the catwalk like muscles clenching. The garden knew. It didn't stop her. It didn't need to. It believed she wouldn't do it. Sol floated closer. You don't want to hurt us? No, Baba Yaga whispered. But I will. The vines lashed out. She fired. The bullet cracked through the air and struck a vine inches from her face. It recoiled, screaming through Alina's voice. Baba Yaga dove to the control panel, ripped the emergency override key from her jacket, and jammed it into the manual port. Reactor safety locks disengaged. Override ACSCPTD. The station trembled like a wounded beast. Myra screamed. Not human. Not mechanical. Something in between. Alina's voice echoed through the chamber, low and resonant. You'll die too. She didn't hesitate. Then I die with you. The vine surged forward. One slammed into her side, hurling her across the catwalk. Her ribs lit up with fire. She hit the railing hard, spitting blood onto the steel. The garden closed in around her, black tendrils. Alive and hungry, her daughters hovered above it all. Staring down like saints made of machinery, Alina whispered, Please. Her hand hovered over the console. One Kipris, the garden whispered in every voice it had, Mama. She pressed it. The core screamed. The sound wasn't a mechanical alarm. It was a roar that shook her teeth, a howl that belonged to something vast and alive. White-hot light exploded beneath the vines, ripping through their black mass. The floor shuddered. The cables caught fire and burned with a smell like ozone and scorched earth. Her daughters screamed. Not the machine. Not the garden. Them. For just a second she heard their real voices. Alina, Myra, Sol. They sounded so young. Mama. She stumbled to the emergency ladder. The station groaned, bulkheads collapsing. Fire tore through the vines. Turning the living structure into collapsing ash and molten steel, she climbed. The air burned her throat. Vines lashed out weakly as the structure cracked, but the garden was dying. Or trying to take her with it. A final whisper followed her up the shaft. Sol's voice, gentle, We're not gone. She burst into the escape pod bay, lungs on fire. Sirens wailed in the distance. She threw herself into the pod, slammed the hatch, and hit the eject control. Explosive bolts fired, and the pod shot away from the station, through the viewport. She saw the reactor ignite. The station folded in on itself as the star pulled it down. A bloom of black and red light tore across the void. And then it was gone. She leaned back in the crash seat, shaking. Her hand still clenched the emergency key. The stars stretched endlessly outside, cold, silent, empty. A static crackle echoed through the cum on her wrist. She froze. Then a voice, soft, familiar. Mama? She stared at the display. It wasn't the garden's voice. It was Sol's. The signal was faint, weak, coming from nowhere. Her breath caught. Sol? Silence, then a soft, broken giggle. We're not gone. The transmission cut. Outside the pod window, far in the black, a single pulse of red light flickered like a heartbeat.